Washington mornings on the Mall.
105.9 FM.
And AM 630.
WMAL.
6:37 on WMAL, where Washington comes to talk. Coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, 8:07. Country music legend Ricky Skye is going to be at the Birchmere Friday and Saturday night. He's going to be on our show this morning. And the Oscar nominees come out, 8:30? Is that it, Larry?
Yep.
8:30 our time, and then we're going to be talking about them with Christian Toto. And then in the 7 o'clock hour, a discussion of just how far a president can go through executive order with a man who has advised presidents on such things, Lanny Davis. Brian Wilson, Larry O'Connor.
And now a man who should be advising this president, at least on matters economic. He's Stuart Varney, host of Varney & Company on Fox Business Network, weekdays at 9:20. Hey, Stuart, good morning.
Good morning, all.
So if you were advising the president, would you be behind Jack Lew as Treasury Secretary?
I'm not sure that I don't think it makes any difference who is going to be the next Treasury Secretary, because there will be no change in the president's economic policy. The Treasury Secretary is going to be a messenger for President Obama. That's what Tim Geithner was. I think that's what Jack Lew will be. And I'm sure he's going to be nominated. He's going to be nominated. I think he'll be appointed. The point is that there's no change in the Obama camp's economic policy. That is, raise taxes, do not cut spending, ignore the debt. That's the gist of it. That was true in the fiscal cliff negotiations. It's going to be true going down the road. No change. Doesn't matter who's in Treasury.
Well, and not only that, as they move forward toward the debt ceiling issue that's going to be the focus of all negotiations between the White House and Capitol Hill over the next few weeks, the White House is insisting that they're not going to even negotiate. There is no negotiation. The debt ceiling will be increased, and they're not going to be held hostage, as they put it, by the Republicans in the House. Is that a tenable position to take?
I think they're moving towards using the 14th Amendment. That would not surprise me at all.
That's the Nancy Pelosi recommendation. Explain to our listeners what that means.
I think, well, look, you're talking to a guy who was born and raised in England where they do not have a constitution.
Hey, it doesn't stop Piers Morgan from lecturing us on the Second Amendment, Stuart.
Yeah, well, you should stop lecturing America, in my opinion, and I'm not going to join in. The 14th Amendment basically says the nation's debt must be paid. So if Congress refuses to pay that debt by not raising the debt ceiling, theoretically, the president could step in and say, I'm raising the debt ceiling because the debt must be paid.
And this is, though, where I think we get into some confusing information. And as I understand it, tell me if it's your understanding as well. If we were to say we're not going to raise the debt limit, that doesn't mean that we don't continue to have income in the form of tax payments coming into the system. Precisely. We would simply have to make very tough decisions about what we cut, and that the money that comes in could continue to service the debt, could it not? So we're not going to default, as Democrats suggest.
Precisely right, Brian. We still have tax revenue flowing in, even if we cannot borrow any more money. We can use that money that's coming in from taxes as the Treasury Secretary sees fit. You would, of course, pay interest on the debt, so you would not default on the debt. You'd simply have to prioritize who gets the money and who does not. Social Security those checks would go out, but would we pay meat inspectors in Iowa who work for the federal government, for example? So you would prioritize. You wouldn't go broke. You wouldn't default. But some people would not get the checks that they were expecting.
I mean, the government would be shut down to some degree, and that's not a good thing, and that's an inconvenient thing. But as has been pointed out by Ted Cruz, the senator from Texas, the last time we did this, it was ugly, and it didn't really turn out well for Republicans, who sort of were seen as the people who made that happen. But at the end of the day, we actually did reduce our debt and deficit.
Yeah, fair point. And we did not default. We did not run out of money because the tax money still keeps coming in. I just feel, Brian, that in the back of my mind I'm thinking they're going to launch the 14th Amendment. I think they're going to do that because it may be a successful political maneuver. You're running against an unpopular Congress. You say, look at those people. They can't organize anything. They can't get together on anything. They don't do anything. They've got a lower reputation than cockroaches, for heaven's sake. Therefore, I am stepping in. I'm going to take action. I am saving America.
Well, and this won't be the first time that Super Obama does that. That's what he's having his Biden commission do as well through executive order that we've talked about earlier in the show. You say that it doesn't make a difference who the Treasury Secretary is. Does it matter who the Labor Secretary is? Because Labor Secretary Solis has announced that she's stepping down.
No, I don't think it does. I think the administration will continue to be wildly pro-union, and a different labor secretary will make no difference to that policy. Look, the economic policy of the Obama administration is very, very clear. It's been made clear recently. Raise taxes. And I think we're going to raise taxes even more. Nancy Pelosi says so. Ignore the debt, even though it builds up to the tune of $1 trillion a year, and do not cut spending, and absolutely do not touch entitlements. So that's the overall policy.
So, Stuart Varney, as we move forward into the dawn of the second Obama era, how is Wall Street responding to this? Do they get it as well? Do they understand what you're saying, which is this is the Obamanomics, and we're going to live with it for 4 more years? What's their reaction?
Their reaction is that Ben Bernanke will keep on printing money, and printing money will fund Wall Street. So you've still got the Dow Jones average at around 13,300. That's about 900 points below its all-time high. In other words, stock prices are relatively high on a historical basis because they think Ben will keep on printing money.
You know, I keep reading this story, Stuart, and I don't understand it. And I hope maybe you can explain it to me. That some people suggest that the way we get around all this is by printing a $1 trillion coin made of platinum. Have you read these stories about the platinum coin? What is this all about, and what are they talking about?
You create a platinum coin, which is constitutionally okay, not gold or silver, but platinum. That gets around certain constitutional provisions. You make this big platinum coin, and you say, this is worth $1 trillion, and this is what we're using to pay our debt with. We have just created money, much like the Federal Reserve creates money by its operations.
So you're advocating that we return to the platinum standard?
No, stop it. Do not put words in my mouth. I have a reputation at stake here. No. This is an idea which is, I think, pure lunacy, and it speaks to the desperation, doesn't it? Look, we're racking up $1 trillion deficit every year. 4 years in a row, it's going to be 5 years in a row. We're desperate. We cannot deal with this. We just can't get to grips with it. So what do? This lunatic idea, let's create $1 trillion coin. That'll take care of everything.
That's crazy talk.
If that's not running away from the basic problem, I don't know what is.
All right, Stuart Varney, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, Stuart Varney, Fox Business Network, host of Varney and Company. And Stuart, we're hearing feedback from a lot of our listeners, and may I say some of the females that work here at WMAL, that they're really loving your accent. They dig the accent. You got to teach me how to do that, Stuart. You got to be my wingman.
I just love WMAL.